Today I'm going to show you how to make this dreamy Entremet aux Chocolat. Let's get started by making the chocolate sponge layer. First, you're going to combine egg yolks and sugar and whip them until they are light and thick. Next, we're going to whip egg whites. These are room temperature egg whites. They will whip up much better if they are room temperature. Whip them until they are foamy and then stop mixing and add the kosher salt. After that, whip until they reach stiff peaks. Once they reach stiff peaks, you can stop mixing, and we're going to combine the yolks and the whites together. Add a third of the egg whites to the egg yolks and gently fold. You can stir just a little bit in the beginning, but you mostly want to be folding this in. Once combined, you're going to take the next third of the egg whites and gently fold this part in. Don't stir at this point, you just want to fold these in. If you stir, you're going to knock out some of the air and it's going to cause your sponge to deflate during baking. So mix all of the egg whites in, and then we're going to add our dry ingredients. To do this, combine all of the dry ingredients and then sift them into the eggs in 3 additions. After each addition, gently fold. Of course, the same process as we've been doing. Fold until it's combined. Be very gentle here. This will take a few minutes, but it's well worth the time it takes. So add the next third, fold again, and then you're going to repeat one last time. Next, we're going to add melted butter, oil, and vanilla to the egg and chocolate mixture. Once that's added, gently stir just a few times. Don't get too overzealous with this. We don't want to knock the air out once again. Next, we're going to pour this into a lined pan. This is a 9-inch round pan. You can use either springform or just a regular cake pan. I like the springform because whenever I need to take this out of the pan, I think it's just a little bit easier, but you could use either and this will work fine. Once you have the batter in the cake pan, bake about 8 minutes. It's not very long, so bake for about 8 minutes, and then we're going to transfer the cake to a cake platter. Now make sure you transfer it to whatever cake stand or cake platter that you want to use for this dessert, because you need to work on it the entire time as we're building the layers. So as you can see, I'm just going to flip the cake over. It's a little bit warm, but it's not too hot. Obviously, don't touch your pan with your bare hands if you could get burned still. Remove the parchment paper, pull that away gently. You can see it should just release really easily. And we're going to set this aside to cool in just a moment. First, I'm going to wrap a layer of acetate around and I'm going to tape it. I'm doing this because as you build this cake, you need something to hold the mousse layers in and to help them hold their structure. So just a layer of acetate is perfect. You can use either a 6-inch or a 4-inch collar. Next, we're going to make our feuilletine layer. We're using these little French cookies called crêpe dentelle. They're super delicious, so put those in a bowl and set them aside for just a moment. Then we're going to combine cocoa butter, melted chocolate, and caramel sauce. I'm going to stir these together to combine them. These ingredients should come together really quickly, so just stir them until they're combined. Then we're going to take our crêpe dentelle cookies and crush them by hand. They break super easy, so this doesn't take much effort. Break them up. Once they're broken up, then we can add them to the chocolate mixture and stir. And as you can see, I'm not being gentle with this. They're already crushed. They're going to get crushed more, so don't be too delicate with this. Just stir it all together. Once it's finished, go ahead and add this to your chocolate sponge layer. Now, as you can see, I'm actually going to stop and remove my cake collar because it's a little too tall to use for this initial layer. You need it with the mousse, but with the feuilletine layer, it's perfectly fine to just remove that cake collar. So go ahead and spread and then set this aside. Next, we're going to make our third layer of this cake. This is our dark chocolate mousse layer, and it is so good. So I'm going to combine Dutch processed cocoa powder with hot water. Once they're combined, give that a good whisking to make sure it's completely blended together. Set this to the side just for a second, and here we have some bittersweet chocolate that's melted. I'm going to pour the cocoa mixture directly into the chocolate and whisk or stir to combine. You can whisk or stir, either one will work. Isn't that so beautiful? Just look how thick and silky that is. Next, we're going to whip our heavy cream. This is what's going to create that mousse texture. So we have a combination of salt, sugar, and heavy cream. We're going to whip just until soft peaks form. When you have soft peaks, you're not going to see much of a formation of a peak on the end of your whisk at all. And as you can see, it's dripping into my bowl a little bit, but it's not running off like super liquid still. It's just got a little bit of shape to it. So go ahead and take about 1/3 of this mixture and fold it into the chocolate. The first addition, you can give that a good stir because the chocolate is pretty thick, so it needs a little bit of help getting combined. Once you get the first addition in, then go ahead and add more of the heavy cream, and you'll be able to whip that in, or be able to fold that in much easier. And then of course repeat with the remainder until that is completely combined. You don't want to see any white streaks. This should be one cohesive color. Isn't this dark chocolate mousse just so beautiful and creamy? Once it's finished, go ahead and pour this on top of the feuilletine layer, and you're going to use a small offset spatula to spread the chocolate mousse so that it's one even layer. Take your time as you do this. It takes a few minutes, and just work carefully inside the acetate. Once that's done, you're going to place this in the refrigerator for a few minutes so that it can set. Then we're going to move on to our milk chocolate mousse layer. Next, we're going to make our milk chocolate mousse layer. To start, combine milk chocolate chips and a small amount of heavy cream in a bowl, and we're going to microwave this until it's melted and combined. Give that a good stir and set this bowl aside. Next, combine cold heavy cream, granulated sugar, and a little bit of vanilla in this bowl, and you're going to whip until we reach soft peaks. Don't beat until stiff peaks, otherwise the mousse will be really thick and stiff and it's not the right consistency. So take a small amount of the heavy cream and you're going to actually whisk this in. You can see that chocolate is really thick. This first addition, you have to actually whisk it in really well. Then we can start folding the remaining whipped cream in. You can do this in 2 to 3 more additions. You can see the texture is much lighter. It's very smooth now, so that first step is really important. Just look at that texture of this chocolate mousse layer. Look how smooth and creamy and delicious this looks. So once you finish mixing it, you have a couple of options. You can pour it in or you can pipe it in. I wanted to pipe it in just to show you. You have a couple of options. Do whatever is easiest for you. Obviously, if you're piping it, you can see that it's a little more even just to begin with, so it is easier to smooth out. Once this is done, pop that in the fridge and let it chill. So next we're going to move on to our white chocolate mousse. Combine the powdered gelatin and water in a small bowl, give it just a gentle stir, and set this aside. It needs to sit for at least 5 minutes. Next we have some hot heavy cream and white chocolate chips. Combine the two, and then you can either add the gelatin to the hot heavy cream first and stir it, or put it directly into the mixture while this is very hot and give it a good whisk. You want to whisk the white chocolate chips and hot heavy cream until this is completely smooth. If you have any bits of chocolate chips that aren't dissolving, pop your bowl into the microwave for 10 seconds and then it should melt the rest of that chocolate. So you can see this is really smooth and creamy. Now, same process, we're going to whip heavy cream. This is going to be whipped to soft peaks. I do not add extra sugar to this because we don't want the white chocolate layer to be too sweet. So we're going to fold in some of that heavy cream. And you can see in the beginning that white chocolate's very thin. This is going to be a thinner layer overall with the way it looks, but the gelatin will help it to set up once it's in the fridge. Once the white chocolate mousse is completely combined and ready, go ahead and pour this on top of the milk chocolate mousse layer that has been chilled. This is very pourable, so you don't need an offset spatula. Instead, just pour it on. And then I like to give this just a gentle shake to get everything smoothed out and pop any bubbles if there are any. At this point, you're going to chill it for about 4 hours to set that top layer. Now from here, you're going to gently remove the cake collar. You can finish this any way you want. You could use chocolate curls or use the little crisp pearls that I've used, but either way, it's going to be delicious.